the house. One of the greatest bodybuilding champions of all time. Definitely full and muscled, but sacrificed a little bit of condition for that full look. But it looks like he's at peace. It looks like he's happy. It's a good place to be. Hidetai Yamagishi, last year's 212 champion, stepping up to the open class this year. I know he's been working with Milo Sarchev, putting in some tremendous work. It hasn't been that long since they've been working together, so let's really see what he brings. The density, the fullness is definitely on point. So I know Hide is about 15 pounds heavier than he was on stage last year. He actually looks to be in better condition, but you know, stepping up from the 212 division to the open class is a big feat. And though so much more muscularity, really dense through the chest, shoulders, feathered through the quads. Hide is known for being one of the best posers and certainly one of the greatest gentlemen in the sport. One of those guys you want to be able to meet, shake his hand, and give him a big hug. He's an awesome human being. The pride of Japan, Hidetai Yamagishi.
Competitor number 7, Fred Smalls.
Are you guys ready for Freddie Smalls? He's probably going to dance for you. He looks bigger, badder than ever. Condition is on point. And certainly one of the most entertaining gentlemen in the sport. Legs have come up a lot too. Great. Freddie's getting better every year. Just keeps getting bigger, keeps getting better. This is the best Fred Smalls I've ever seen. The best thing about this guy, I'll never see him with a smile on his face, and he's usually breakdancing. These bodybuilders get a reputation for being intimidating because they're so large in stature, but so many of these guys are such teddy bears, gentlemen, family men who just make their living a little bit differently than everybody else. Make no mistake, being professional bodybuilders, a 24-hour-a-day commitment. There's not a minute off, and it's a very challenging sport to sustain a family, to sustain a relationship. There's no minutes off, and that's one of the things that separates bodybuilding from all the other sports. Is there's no such thing as a day off. There's no such thing as missing a meal when you're getting ready for a contest. It's 24 hours a day. It's really hard to learn to turn down your brain and be able to relax with your family. So huge shout out to Fred Smalls for being able to sustain a happy wife, happy family with kids. Not an easy thing to do as a professional bodybuilder.
Competitor number 8, John De La Rosa.
Big John De La Rosa. One of the greatest bodybuilders of the Dominican Republic, along with Victor Martinez. John has a tremendous upper body. Let's see what he looks like today. Legs have come up. Beautiful tight waist. And that smile you see on John's face is sincere. Again, another soft-spoken, gentle giant. And this is where shows are won and lost. If John comes in super dry from the back, top to bottom, glutes, low back, he's a competitor. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's got the same level of conditioning as some of these other guys. Great from the front. John's really managed to keep his waist really small as he keeps adding muscle, and that's a really challenging thing to do, right? The more muscle you add, the more food you're consuming, the harder you're training, the harder it is to keep that stomach tight all the time because it's always so full of food. You stop paying attention to it.
Justin Rodriguez.
A new competitor to the Arnold Classic stage, Justin Rodriguez. This is Justin's first year doing the Arnold Classic. I'm sure tremendous front double bicep. I'm sure he's just excited to be on stage, posing for the IFBB judges on one of the greatest stages in the world. The 2018 Arnold Classic, the 30th anniversary of this great event. Thank you, Arnold. Thank you, Jim Lorimer, Jim Mannion. Huge shout out to you, gentlemen. I'm truly grateful for everything you've done for me and the sport of bodybuilding. Thank you to Generation Iron for hosting this live event for you guys, free of charge, allowing you to be here in your living room or wherever you happen to be. Truthfully grateful. And thank you for each of you for tuning in and giving us your time to this sport, because as an athlete, we love it. We really appreciate all your support and your feedback. You guys fuel us. You drive us. As much as we're all internally driven, it's such a great feeling to know we're inspiring you and motivating you to live your greatest life, to challenge yourself, become your greatest self. Justin Rodriguez is looking awesome. Great condition. Really little waist. He's done a good job of keeping that V taper.
Competitor number 10, Steve Kuklos.
Stevie Kuklo. Still one of the youngins in the sport, even though he's been around for a long time. I think he's barely 30 years old. I met Steve in 2007 when he was 21 years old and just as big as a Mack truck, and continues to get bigger. Happily married now to one of the industry's beautiful, lovely people. Steve is dry, conditioned, on point. Great aesthetic physique, small waist. Steve used to be a firefighter and since left that position to commit full-time to being a professional bodybuilder. Judges are looking for details here, right? Everyone's obviously massively muscled. But judges are looking for, as you see Steve's glutes, he's pointing them out for you. That's what the judges are looking for. How thin does that skin look? How dry do those muscles really appear? How full are those muscles? Do they look like they're really pressing up against the skin? That's a really challenging thing to achieve as a professional bodybuilder. For anybody who's never competed, you have no appreciation for the number of variables that need to be managed and measured to achieve that level of dryness and conditioning. Getting in shape is one thing, and then managing the last 24 to 48 hours of sodium and glycogen and water, it's a balancing act. And that's why there's such a disparity sometimes between a way a guy will look show to show with stress and flights, and so many things can play into it. Congratulations, Steve Kuklo. You look awesome.
Number 11, Paul Polachek.
Another new competitor here to the Arnold stage, Paul Polachek. Lucas Ozladil from the Czech Republic. This guy made a step up from the 212 last year and made a splash, and he continues to grow, get bigger. It's one of the challenging things in our sport is you continue to add muscle, keeping your waist in check. And you can see Lucas doesn't have the greatest abdominal development as he's trying to get bigger and add more muscle. There's just more food, there's more time, and the muscles of the waist get thicker, and it sometimes will take away from the aesthetic of the physique. And a lot of bodybuilders live that reality. It's a hard thing to fight with. It's a hard thing to be patient and put on just a few pounds of muscle every year in the right areas, and everybody wants to do it as fast as possible. And that sometimes is the biggest drawback in our sport. We're all trying to compete with the biggest guys in the world next year rather than paying your dues and taking the 3-year plan or the 5-year plan. Tremendous amount of muscle, though. The guy's massively muscled. I know he's a really hard worker. Prior to being a pro, he was known for his condition, and now he's trying to play the size game, and it's a hard game to play. Definitely deep striations through the glutes, and all that deep striation comes from hard muscle contraction. You get a lot of guys who look like they have a soft look. That's a little bit different than someone who looks like they're all separated and striated, and all that just comes from hard muscular contraction. People talk about genetics for building muscle, and one of the biggest differences is where muscles start and end, the origin and insertion of muscles, and that can be a massive difference in the shape of a muscle. And that's one of the things judges are looking for. Unfortunately, if you have a disadvantage in shape of your muscle, it is something that's going to be knocked down. So Lucas has a bit of a disadvantage here in the shape of his quads. You'll notice even shapes in the abdominals are different with everybody, and that's just the muscles shape. Nothing that can be done about that. That split down the middle is very normal.
Competitor number 14.
Just a genetic thing.
William Bourane.
And the final competitor, William Bourane. People are dying to see this gentleman, and let me tell you, he's not going to disappoint you. Chest. There's just looks like there's no skin on his body, and just always lean. Great muscle bellies. The roundness is just so evident. Even for someone who doesn't know the sport, they look at that and they're just so impressed. And the condition through the glutes and hamstrings. William is definitely in the running to win this contest. Top to bottom, big wide lats, showing off his signature hair with muscle density, that big smile. Allow the judges to compare. So many things are going through the judge's mind right now is how these guys stack up against each other. Who's in the best condition? It is a sport of bodybuilding, and condition is definitely the hardest thing to achieve. That has to play into it on show day. So the judges are looking at that and obviously subjectively determining whose muscles are showing the best. Beyond that, you're looking at things like symmetry and aesthetics and who's got the greatest overall balance. Who's got the best stage presentation? Who goes out there confidently knowing they own this? It's all playing into the judge's mind, whether consciously or unconsciously. These judges are looking at that stuff. Who looks like they're born to do it? Anyone aspiring to be a bodybuilder out there, you need to own every aspect of your game. Look like you're born to do it, and you believe it, and so will everybody else. So here's your first 6 competitors, first 5 competitors. Lionel, Rolly, Dennis, Max, and Cedric.
Gentlemen, front double bicep.
Lionel's number 1, Rolly number 2, Dennis number 3, Max Charles 4, Cedric McMillan number 5. Getting a great comparison.
Relax, quarter turn to the right.
Cedric has this flow to his posing. He looks like he's floating, which is just comfort in his ability to do it in practice. This guy does 40 weekends a year on the road, appearing at different venues around the world, doing his posing routines, which are truly amazing to see. If you get a chance to see Cedric locally in your town, move heaven and earth to go see this guy pose. He's a beautiful poser, and he'll make time for you to help you in anything he can. So acknowledging everyone's glutes, acknowledging everyone's lower back, the thinness of the skin of the lower back, How tight are those waists? Are they sticking out? The differential between the lat and the waist. How tight do the legs look in that position?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Head judge Steve Weinberger taking him through the quarter turns. Shout out to Big Steve. Bev Francis Powerhouse Gym in Syosset, New York. One of the greatest places on the planet to train. Huge shout out to Steve Weinberger, Bev Francis. The sport owes you a debt of gratitude, both of you guys. Thank you. Your time, your energy, your influence. Thank you guys. So we've got competitors 5 through 10. Hide, Fred, John, Justin, and Steve Kuklo. John Bellarosa's waist looks on point. All these guys are in great condition today. Truly nobody off. When we say off, just maybe someone who's holding a little bit of water, somebody who maybe didn't quite get as lean as they need to, and perhaps through no fault of their own. Sometimes stress plays a huge role, and sometimes as an athlete, you overdo it trying to get in shape, and that overdoing it causes more stress in your body. People don't pay attention to actually the levels of stress in their life, and training is a stress. I love the way Steve Kuklo looks today. Could use a little more oil, but his condition is great. His face is nice and sucked in. We know that's an indication of being in really good shape. No more fat left in those cheeks.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Now moving on to the last 4 competitors. Paul Polachek, Dexter Jackson, Lucas Osladell, and William Bonac. We got Big Al on stage there expediting these gentlemen. This guy's been doing it forever, and he's truly a great man. Take care of the athletes on stage, backstage. He's one of our great friends. Shout out to Al there standing on stage.
Gentlemen, front double bicep.
It looks to me like your top 2 competitors are standing in this lineup. It's going to be your first chance to see them side by side. Wow, judges got tall order today.
Relax, quarter turn to the right.
Paul Polachek is a tall bodybuilder, as you see, standing beside Dexter. It's going to take a long time to fill out that physique to be able to compete, seriously compete on this stage. Although Lucas is very big, relative to his structure, he's going to need a lot more muscle to compete with Dexter and William. This is very close.
Relax, quarter turn to the right. And face front.
Just acknowledging all the details as they tie right up into the hip of those legs. That makes a difference, right? Seeing the separation all the way up into the thigh, all the way up into the hip. So this live broadcast is brought to you by Dominate, Don't Compete. Dominating your life every day is something that is far more than an idea. It's a movement. And now it's time for you to be a part of it. Show that you dominate in every workout and competition with this premier fitness line. Check them out at dominatedontcompete.com, on Instagram at dominatedontcompete. Grab the reins of your life and make the most out of every day. Dominate, don't compete. Shout out to our sponsors. Thank you, guys. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for allowing this live broadcast to happen. We're so grateful for you, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jim Larimer, Jim Mannion, and everyone in the IFBB, NPC, and Arnold Classic organization for making this show possible. Shout out to Generation Iron. Entertainment, fitness, education. We're also bringing you guys the free live broadcast of the 2018 Arnold Classic, the 30th anniversary, as we wait for the first call out.
Rolly, Cedric, Steve, Dexter, and William.
Here's your top 5. Typically, guys, in the sport, you get a first call out, you're locked into the top 5. And that would have been my exact guess of the top 5 right there. And now to determine who.
And Lionel.
Oh, and Lionel, that would definitely be another addition. So at this point, the judges are going to compare these guys, and you're looking at apples and oranges, and it comes down to looking at the fine details and who hits it today. Typically, we try not to take into consideration favorites from the past or what they've done last year, or what they did last week or last month, but we take into consideration exactly what they look like right now, this minute, this hour. Looking at details. Does your quad tie right up into your thigh? Does your lower ab really dial in? Are you really dry through that lower abdominal? Most people, when they hold water, are going to hold water through the lower back and lower abdominals. It's usually stress-related hormones. Some guys will hold it through their upper back. Look at the effort in the posing. You see that shaking? Posing those muscles is hard work, guys. Hard work. Cedric's putting that smile on his face, finding the joy in the discomfort. Believe me, it's not comfortable. You're having a hard time breathing. You probably haven't had water in a very long time. At this point, they've eaten a lot of food to fill those muscles up. The amount of water.
William and Cedric switch.
So the judges here are moving guys around.